Okay. So going back to this checklist, this thing is going to come out on the 16th. It's still very messy. It's very subjective. But I'm going to release it. And so really, I mean, let me talk about a little bit more about deciders versus observers, because I recently queued up a video called David Goggins, or decider and an observer, how they process suffering, right? And it was arguably very one-sided. I kind of clipped it probably a little bit too soon. I probably should have given a little bit more timestamps. And I was definitely favoring David Goggins over Ed Milet's vibe, if nothing else, in that conversation. So, I'm probably gonna get a little bit of pushback, or or at least internally, let me say, I probably didn't do Ed Milet or the deciders full justice, right? And so in the spirit of justice, let me process this a little bit. It's gonna be out loud, play, how it is. So, so let's take a step back. So the whole premise of this checklist and the whole premise of what I'm working on is to really simplify or categorize objective personality into either linear or circular. Linear meaning this is the, it's a more direct, a more, I would argue, honest, let's say, and more immediate approach to what all human beings want. Where, for example, how in objective personality, they claim that all people are ultimately deciders, whether they're observers or not. All people are ultimately DI, right? So those are examples of more linear. So people who are savior DI are more linear about that. They're more direct about that. And people who are more, who are savior DE are more circular, more indirect about that, right? So I'm trying to kind of do that for the rest of the system. And so based on the kind of many claims of deciders being kind of the primary human impulse, let's say, or the primary human need, and the observers are kind of getting distracted by info, in order to play the decider game, I was trying to kind of process them a little bit and kind of make this make sense in that standpoint. I don't know if I've fully done that. And so I'm going to leave the linear versus circular thing aside a little bit. But as I've been working on this, I feel like I've been getting a few insights. So let me go ahead and process this, because as of right now, as of me filming this is very one-sided, right? Because it's like, okay, on the one hand, you have the deciders who are avoiding pain. It's very kind of cowardly, in my opinion, versus the observers. They're okay with pain, right? I'm definitely biased, in favor of the observers, even in the checklist. So let me read what I have, and then let me process how it would balance out, because I do truly believe there is a balance where deciders have like an extreme advantage over observers in many ways. So starting with the deciders. So this is my definitions, right? So processing people, meaning that they care a lot about consistent social perception for both self and tribe, self-deciding, doing fairness and not things. And then secondly, they avoid pain and social negativity at all costs. Now, let me break down these two kind of more additions that I've added. So starting off, cares a lot about consistent social perception for both self and tribe. What the fuck does that mean, Reggie? Okay, great question, Reggie. Okay, so one thing I noticed, and I actually noticed this starting with, studying Kobe Bryant, because that's a hero and a mentor in a sense of mine. So Kobe Bryant does a lot of talk about, I saw myself as the best. I wanted to be the best. I was doing everything that other people seemed to not do to become the best. And so, in my mind, I was either going to become the best, or I already was the best. And he talks a lot about how he gets angry when people look down on him, when people ignore him, when people treat him as less than, this great being that he believed he was. And then, he talked about how he wanted to get vengeance on these people, via basketball, right? Legally. He wanted to get vengeance on the court, and he wanted to prove them wrong, and he wanted to destroy them, and all this talk, right? If you want, watch some of his interviews, or watch Kobe Bryant's Muse, the documentary, if you want to see how Kobe gets. And actually, hopefully not too much of a sidebar, Michael Jordan is actually probably a more notorious example of that. right? Where Michael Jordan, it's almost a meme at this point where he's like, when someone looks down on him or, treats him a certain way, he took it personally, right? And now he has this vendetta against this one guy just because the one guy didn't treat him a certain way, right? And these are observers, right? But as I was studying that, it came to the realization that when it comes to the decider game, which once again, everyone is ultimately playing, if you're being honest about it, it's this game of it's this game of the tribe needs to see me the way that I see myself, and in the case of IPs, and the EJ game is I need to see myself the way that the tribe sees me. I need to keep up the tribe image almost, right? I need to keep up this facade, let's say, that makes me successful, right? The case of the EJ, right? So let me contrast the Kobe story. This would be Oprah, right? The EJ story would be Oprah. I would say to some extent Rihanna, especially in the case of no, not Rihanna as much. I would actually switch that out to Will and Jada. Oh my fucking God. Don't even get me started with that shit show, right? Of their marriage being public, and Jada, this is me as a mini decider, right? So apparently Jada cheated on Will at some point last year multiple times, but they're keeping up all this image in public where she did no wrong, and she was like this perfect person in the eyes of the public, and Will's like breaking down, crying in fucking interviews. Oh my God. Anyway, but the EJ game is more so I need to keep up this appearance, because if I get caught, if people see the darkness that I am behind closed doors, I'm going to be abandoned, and oh my God, people are going to betray me and attack me and hurt me and da-da-da, right? All this bullshit, in my opinion. So, but that's the game. That's what I mean by consistent social perception, right? It's like the tribe needs to see me the way I see myself, and I need to see myself the way the tribe sees me, or at least I need to hide, let's put it that way. I need to hide anything about myself that is inconsistent with what the tribe sees in me, right? In the case of maybe more unhealthy decider games. So that's what I mean by that. This is gonna be a long video. Now, in contrast, the observers are processing, I would really say, it says things in the official, I think the official checklist, but I'm gonna say pathways here, right? And what I mean by that is they care a lot about the correct or the best pathway, and what do I mean by that? So who fucking cares if the tribe sees me a certain way? That's not a big deal. As long as I know that I'm going down the right path, that's where we get fixated. But the problem is that there's always missing information. So how do I know that I'm on the right path? That's the anxiety, right? So in observers, if I had to do like a balancing act, which I think needs to happen, honestly, I would say, oh, wrong font. It's not pain and social negativity, it's avoiding anxiety, right? You hear this with the EPs especially, right? Charlemagne is a good example in the classes. He has all this anxiety and he's so afraid, and oh my God, did I do this? And oh my God, what do all these symptoms mean? And am I gonna end up, in jail, or am I going to end up dead somewhere, right? That's what he's processing. The IJs is more along the lines of I have the right pathway and all these people are fucking distracting me and being chaotic, and how dare they? And, you guys are not getting on with the program of this pathway that's going to be perfect, right? So avoids anxiety. And I would actually argue chaos as well, whether it's an EP or an IJ, to be honest. I think EPs cause chaos in their attempt to find the best pathway, and they fuck everyone else over. But I don't know if you've noticed, but EPs hate when chaos happens to them, right? A great example is with Megyn Kelly and there's this other lady that she was interviewing, forgot her name. But, when the chaos is being turned on them, they become like vengeful, right? That's where the observers get mad. And so what I would say is with the deciders, just to balance it out, yes, observers are okay with negativity and social pain, but I think the deciders are very calm. Like, they're calm in a way that observers aren't, right? There's not a paranoia, right? They're okay with a little bit of anxiety. They're okay with a little bit of uncertainty. That would probably be a better word than even chaos. So like uncertainty, I need to you know, they need to know everything in the case of the EP, or the IJ is like, don't fucking distract me. You know, I know what's going on. Whereas with the deciders, they're okay with the, they're okay with the anxiety. They're okay with the uncertainty as long as they're being perceived the correct way, right? It's this perception game that they're playing, right? In my opinion. And once again, you know, before, you know, even with this bias, in my opinion, all humans are ultimately deciders. I agree with David Shan. So really, in a certain sense, everyone is a little bit concerned with perception game, right? Now, I'm going to type this probably as I talk. So this is going to be long and annoying. But yeah, I would say this is kind of where we're at. Now, there's this little section here where, you know, this is very SI personal. This makes sense to me. I don't have an equivalent where for double deciding with observers are willing to be the villain in order to get things back on track. That's just fucking facts. Like, you know, if you're perceived as evil or as wrong, the observer mindset is, you know, it will, you know, once you see that this is the best path for all of us, you'll see me differently, right? There's this kind of delayed gratification when it comes to social perception. And what I would imagine is, I don't have the example, unfortunately, that comes to mind, but what I would imagine is with deciders, there is a delayed gratification when it comes to observer shit. They're like, okay, there's uncertainty, but long term, as long as I stay as this perfect person or whatever, the chaos will subside, right? Or I'll have people around me that will help me, or in the case of DE, or I'll be the person who can handle any uncertainty, really. Like the James Bond archetype. That would really be what it would be. So like James Bond Skyfall is a good example. So this is a long video. I hopefully am not going to post this, but if I do, I mean, rest in peace. Like I should probably edit this, but I probably won't. So if you're listening to this and this is on YouTube in public, I am so sorry for you that you listened to all that rambling. If I had to do a key takeaway, is that for deciders it's about the social perception game. It just is. You know, we got to be honest with ourselves, right? It's about, hey, do you see me as the best person? Do I see myself as the best person? Are we in line? Do I need to hide things from the tribe in order to be perfect, right? Especially in the case of the IPs, right? You know, that's kind of what they're known for in the classes. They try to present themselves as perfect at all times, and that's where you catch them, because it's like, yo, no one's this good, right? Versus the observers, which is, we're processing pathways, we're processing endpoints, we're processing, are we going down the right path, and do we have enough information to go down that path, right? And so I'm gonna clean this up. You know, I'm typing as I talk. I'm being a fucking mess. Play, right? But this is what's going on. If I do post this, rest in peace to your 13 minutes. But I love you, and I will talk to you soon.